Hello, hello, hello. What do you like? This one? This one? I can do either one. Hold on a second. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This is a lot better. I feel a lot better. This is really good. Well, nice to see you all. Thank you for coming. I'm very excited to be here. I just I was just able to chat with some students for probably 10 or 15 minutes. Where are my student buddies? Over here? There they are. This is great. They had their interview questions. You know, they were more interested in talking about business. I wanted to find out what their Halloween costumes were. So that went pretty well. All right, most important thing, yes, I did bring ice cream, so there'll be ice cream for lunch. Yeah. You know, I find that I am much more warmly received when I bring ice cream. Things just go a whole lot more smoothly. It's really good. So I'm going to talk about Ben and Jerry's, how the company got started, how we tried to operate. I may touch on some environmental issues. I may not. You know, you may notice Ben is not here, so I'll be able to tell some really good stories about Ben. And I think it's also helpful to understand that Ben and Jerry's is no longer an independent company. It got bought about 10 years ago by this larger company, Unilever, which you guys may know of because they have headquarters in Englewood Cliffs. And selling the company was not something that we wanted to do. We wanted to remain independent, but we were a public company at the time. And Unilever essentially offered so much money, we were not able to find an alternative. And Unilever is it's probably about a $40 billion company that has all sorts of food brands and personal care brands. They Ragu spaghetti sauce, Wishbone salad dressing, Lipton tea. They have a very good sense of humor. On the same day they bought Ben and Jerry's, they also bought Slim Fast. So Ben and I still work at the company. We're employees, but we're not involved in the operations or the management. What do we do? Well, I can tell you that after 30 years, I have reached a point in my career where I have a job that has no responsibility and also no authority. So something we can all shoot for. All right, so Ben and I are old friends from junior high school. We met when we were 13 years old in gym class. We grew up in Long Island, over in Merrick, for anybody who knows Long Island. We met running around the track because we were the two slowest, fattest kids in the class. And you know, there was this pack of kids up in the front, and there was Ben and me in the back, and the coach was yelling at us, "Gentlemen, got to run the mile in under 7 minutes. If you don't, you're going to have to do it again." Ben would yell back at the coach, "Gee, coach, if I don't do it in under 7 minutes the first time, I'm certainly not going to do it in under 7 minutes the second time." And that was when I realized Ben was somebody I wanted to get to know. So we went through junior high school and high school together. It came time to go to college. Ben did not want to go to college. His parents wanted him to go. His father and his sister filled out his applications. He ended up going to Colgate in upstate New York because the brochures said they had fireplaces in the dorm rooms, and Ben thought that was really cool. So he went there for a year and a half, and he dropped out of school. He went to Skidmore College for a while. He dropped out of there. He went to NYU for a while. He dropped out of there. Then he signed up with one of these really progressive college programs called University Without Walls. So at University Without Walls, you don't have to go to class because the world is your campus, and you don't have to take tests. You get credit for learning, and Ben dropped out of there too. still a little too much structure for Ben. And he worked a series of jobs. Ben was a taxi cab driver in New York City. He was a short order cook. He was a pottery wheel deliverer. He was a night mopper. He was a baker's helper. This was in a period of about 2 or 3 years. So he was not on the career path. I went to college. I did 4 years straight. I was pre-med. I applied to 20 medical schools, got rejected from 20 medical schools, got a job as a lab technician, reapplied to another 20 medical schools, got rejected from those 20 medical schools, and then I got another job as a lab technician because I already had experience. So this is what Ben and I were doing. We were essentially failing at everything we were trying to do, and we thought, why don't we try to get together, do something that's fun, be our own bosses, and since we always like to eat quite a bit, we thought we would do something with food. We picked ice cream, didn't know anything about it. As was mentioned, we took this $5 correspondence course from Penn State University. We were really broke at the time, so we split one course between us, $250 a piece. Got 100 on all our open book tests, and then we figured we were ready to make ice cream. So then we needed to find a place to open up. Ben and I decided we wanted to live in a rural college town. We thought college kids eat a lot of ice cream. We didn't want to be in a big city. And then we also thought it would be good if it was warm. So we did this extensive research project and determined that all the warm rural college towns already had ice cream parlors. So we discarded the idea of warm, thinking that we would be better off in a place with no competition. And we picked Burlington, Vermont, which is the home of the University of Vermont. It's a beautiful place. And it's about an hour south of the Canadian border. And it was so cold all the time that there was no ice cream parlors there, but that was fine with us. So we moved to Burlington, needed to raise some money. Ben and I had each saved $4,000. So together we had $8,000. We were going to go into the local bank to try to borrow some money. And as we thought about it, we realized that the local bank might not be that excited about lending us money because we had just moved to Vermont. We weren't married and didn't have families, so we didn't really have roots there. And we didn't have any job experience, and we didn't have any business experience, and we didn't have any ice cream experience, and we didn't have any assets, and we didn't have any collateral. So we thought, okay, we need to put together a really good business plan, and that will convince the bank that they should loan us money. But we didn't know how to write a business plan. Fortunately, we have a friend, Jeff Furman, who used to work for the Small Business Administration over in New York. And so Jeff got us a copy of a business plan that was from a pizza parlor in New York City. And what Ben and I did was we essentially copied the business plan, except every place where it said slice of pizza, we crossed it out and we wrote in ice cream cone, submitted it into the bank with a loan request for $18,000. The bank, in turn, resubmitted the request back to the Small Business Administration to see if they could get what was called an SBA guaranteed loan. If the SBA would guarantee the loan, then the bank would be at no risk and whatever. So they send it back to the SBA, and the SBA approved it again. They apparently really like this business plan. But they approved it conditional upon us finding a location that they thought was suitable. So we looked all around Burlington. The place we fell in love with was this old abandoned gas station that was 1 block off the main street in town. It was right across the street from a park, but we couldn't get a long-term lease on the building, so we never got the money from the SBA. We went back to the bank. They gave us $4,000 to go with our $8,000. So we had $12,000 to open up our ice cream parlor back in 1978. So we bought all used equipment. The ice cream machine we bought was a used 5-gallon rock salt and ice cream machine, which is kind of like a home ice cream maker, only it It made 5 gallons at a time and not a gallon. It had a motor on it, so that was really good. And we opened up in May of 1978, and it was a beautiful summer. We were making ice cream. We were scooping ice cream. Everything was fantastic. On a good day, we could make about 10 batches of ice cream. Well, that was great. And then the winter came, and it was minus 20 degrees outside. Sure enough, people stopped buying ice cream cones. We even came up with what I think was our best promotion in the 30-year history of Ben & Jerry's. It was called Popsid Biswee, which stood for penny off per Celsius degree below zero winter extravaganza. So the way this worked was, when the temperature got below freezing, which is 32 Fahrenheit, but 0 degrees Celsius, we started taking money off the price of an ice cream cone. And the colder it got, the more money we took off the price of a cone. But not even that was enough to get customers in the door. So we got through the winter by selling ice cream to some of the local restaurants that had been asking for it. And so we continued to do that. The next winter came, couldn't figure out what to do. Ben had the idea that we should start packaging our ice cream into pint containers. So we kind of stumbled into the ice cream manufacturing and distribution business. We got a couple of small ice cream distributors in New Hampshire and upstate New York to start carrying Ben & Jerry's. And then we got this big break. We got a couple of big ice cream distributors, one in Boston, one in Connecticut, to start carrying Ben & Jerry's. And it was the first time we were going to be selling ice cream in a major metropolitan area. And these guys had just started carrying our product when we got this urgent phone call from them one day. They said, listen, we need to talk. We can't do it over the phone, and we need to meet someplace really private. We said, okay. So we decided to meet in this dark corner of a restaurant at Logan Airport in Boston. So we sit down with these two distributors. They said, we've got some bad news. Haagen-Dazs ice cream, which had just been bought by the Pillsbury Corporation, had come to them and told them that if they continued to carry Ben & Jerry's on their trucks, they weren't going to sell them Haagen-Dazs anymore. And as they told us, look, we like you guys, we like your ice cream, but Haagen-Dazs is the most profitable item we carry on our trucks, and we can't afford to be without it. So we're going to have to drop your product. So they told us this, and Ben started laughing. He just thought this was hilarious. They said, Ben, this is really serious. Why are you laughing? And Ben said, I can't believe that Haagen-Dazs and Pillsbury is worried about little old Ben & Jerry's in Burlington, Vermont. But they were, and it was a real problem. First of all, it seemed like what they were doing was illegal. It's a restraint of trade under federal antitrust law, which says that a company that controls the major part of a market can't use its power and position to keep competitors out. So we thought, okay, we'll sue Pillsbury. That'll be fun. They were a $4 billion company at the time. Then we thought we could file a complaint with the Federal Trade Commission, but everybody we talked to told us that the Federal Trade Commission was much more interested in helping big companies get bigger as opposed to helping small companies survive. So we thought, well, if we're going to go down, we'll at least take our case to the people. And so we started the What's the Doughboy Afraid Of campaign. So this was kicked off by me going to Minneapolis to the Pillsbury World Headquarters, where I was a one-person picket line. I had my little picket sign. It said, What's the Doughboy Afraid Of? And I was walking up and down on the sidewalk in front of the Pillsbury headquarters, handing out leaflets to people as they walked by, and nobody had any idea why I was there. Then we took a small classified ad out in the back of Rolling Stone magazine that said, Help 2 Vermont hippies fight the corporate giants. We started flying aerial banners around the sports stadiums in Boston that said, What's the Doughboy Afraid Of? Then we took out signs on the sides of the transit buses in Boston that had these two pudgy white hands coming out from behind the sign, squeezing a pint of Ben and Jerry's. Said, "Don't let Pillsbury's dollars strangle Ben and Jerry's." And then we said, "All right, we're going to go straight to our customers." So we printed an 800 number, a toll-free phone number on our pint containers, and then Ben and I recorded a phone message explaining the situation and asking people if they were interested to leave their name and address to get a Doughboy Mail-in Kit. So the Doughboy Mail-in Kit consisted of a letter to the head of the Federal Trade Commission. There was a letter to the chairman of the board of Pillsbury, which essentially said, "Why don't you guys pick on someone your own size?" There was a bumper sticker, this black bumper sticker that said, "What's the Doughboy afraid of?" There was a T-shirt offer. You could purchase a T-shirt on the front. It said, "What's the Doughboy afraid of?" On the back, it said, "Ben and Jerry's Legal Defense Fund, major contributor." They cost $10. So we record this phone message. We hook it up to these answering machines at work that are then connected to this 800 number on the pint containers. And we started getting all these phone calls. We started getting a couple of hundred phone calls a week, mostly between the hours of midnight and 3 a.m. The story got picked up in the media. There was an article about it in the Wall Street Journal. There was a big article in the New Yorker magazine. There was a cover story on the Sunday magazine section of the Boston Globe. And because there was so much of a public outcry, Pillsbury and Haagen-Dazs backed down, allowed these distributors to carry Ben and Jerry's on their trucks, right next to all the other brands that they carried. And that's what permitted Ben and Jerry's to eventually get distributed across the country. Well, it was just after this time, Ben and I looked at each other one day and we said, boy, what the heck is going on here? We're not ice cream guys anymore. We're becoming businessmen. We're not spending our time making ice cream and scooping it over the counter to our customers. We're spending our time hiring people, firing people, writing memos and correspondence, talking with lawyers and accountants. I mean, it wasn't exactly our idea of a good time. Plus, we had grown up in the 60s. You guys have all read about the 60s, right? And so to us, business had all these negative connotations. And we felt like our business was just becoming another cog in the economic machine, and we didn't really want any part of that. And so we decided to get out. And just then, Ben ran into this friend of his, Maurice Purpura. So Maurice was this old, eccentric restaurateur down in southern Vermont in Brattleboro. And Ben was telling Maurice that we were going to get out of the business. And Maurice said, "Ben, how can you do that? The business is your baby. It's just starting to take off." And Ben said, "Well, Maurice, you know what business does. It takes advantage of its employees. It spoils the environment. It exploits the community." You know, Ben laid it on really thick. And Maurice said, "Well, Ben, if there's something you don't like about the way business is done, why don't you just change it?" And as Ben says, that had never really occurred to him before. So at that point, we decided to see if we could make the business something that was supportive of the community, supportive of employees, protective of the environment. And you know, at that time, Ben and Jerry's was probably about a $3 million company. We were making ice cream in a 3,000 square foot rented facility, a lot smaller than this. We were using World War II vintage ice cream making equipment. We didn't have room for our ingredients or our finished goods. We couldn't meet our orders. We were really bursting at the seams. And we were at the stage of a business where it needs to take in some more money to get to the next level. And the normal thing for a business to do at this point would be to take in venture capital, to take in money from a small number of well-to-do investors who invest in your business in the hopes that it will grow and they'll make a really good return. And what we decided to do was to use this need for cash as an opportunity to make the community owners of the business, so that as the business prospered, the community as owners would automatically prosper and not be dependent upon the business's kindness or generosity. And the way we found to do that was to hold what became the first ever in-state Vermont public stock offering, selling stock in the company to Vermonters, people that had been supporting the company since it began. So we talked to all our advisors. They said, this is a terrible idea. It's never been done before, so that's one strike against it. There's not very many people in Vermont, and those that are there don't have very much money. There's only 600,000 people in the whole state. You should take the money from the venture capitalists. When you need more, there'll be more where that came from. And we said, we don't care. If we're going to grow our business, we want to do it in a way that's consistent with our values. So we couldn't find anybody to underwrite the offering. The company underwrote it ourselves. Ben and I became stockbrokers, if you can believe that. And we had a very low minimum purchase of $126, so that people of essentially any economic situation could participate. You know, normally public offerings are reserved for so-called sophisticated investors with a few $1,000s, but that's not who we were looking for. We were looking for essentially our neighbors. So we advertised it in the first section of the newspaper, right next to the clothing ads and the supermarket ads. Said, get a scoop of the action. And at the end of the offering, which we sold out, we raised $750,000. One out of every 100 Vermont families had become owners in Ben & Jerry's. So we were very excited, continued to operate the company. About a year and a half later, we needed more money. And so at that time, we decided to have a national public offering. And in conjunction with that, we established the Ben & Jerry's Foundation, which would receive, as was mentioned, 7.5% of the company's pre-tax profits, which was the highest percentage of any publicly held company. The corporate average is about 1.5%. And the reason we chose such a high percentage was that our feeling at the time was that a business is essentially a machine for making money. So that if we want to be as of much benefit to the community as possible, we should give away as much money as possible. And so we set up the foundation, sold out the offering, and the foundation started getting funded by the company. And in no time at all, the foundation was overwhelmed with grant requests from nonprofit organizations doing incredibly worthwhile work. Issues like hunger, housing, environmental issues. And the foundation could fund only a minuscule percentage of the requests that were coming in. And we realized that all the foundations in the country are in the same situation. There are these tremendous unmet social and environmental needs, and not nearly enough money to go around. And we started to wonder why that was. And as we thought about it, we came to realize that business has really become the most powerful force in our society today. And it's a relatively new phenomenon. It didn't always used to be the case. Originally it was religion, then it came to be governments, nation states, and now it's business. And you can see that reality echoed in the major buildings, in the major cities around the world, that the oldest big ornate buildings are religious buildings. The second oldest big ornate buildings are governmental buildings. And today, the big ornate buildings being built are commercial buildings. And so we thought, well, business is this most powerful force. We can never give away enough money. What can business possibly do? And we came to learn that the real power of our business was not in whatever small percentage of our profits we could give away, but it was in how did we conduct our day-to-day operations. If we could give away some small percentage of our money, the huge amount of money was flowing through the company in how we purchased ingredients, how we did our manufacturing, how we did our marketing, how we did our financial transactions. And so the challenge for us became, how do we integrate into our normal day-to-day business a concern for the environment and a concern for the community? And I can tell you that when we first started trying to figure out how to do it, we had no idea. There weren't any books written about it, and so it became a matter of thinking up some ideas, trying them. Sometimes they worked, sometimes they didn't work, and when it didn't work, we tried to learn from it, make improvements, go back and try again. And in that regard, it's really no different from any other process of innovation. Trying to figure out something that you really don't know how to do. I mean, it's kind of like new flavors at Ben & Jerry's. Most new flavors don't make it. They never see the light of day. They don't get out of the lab. You guys know the expression, many are called, few are chosen. At Ben & Jerry's, we have many are cold, few are frozen. So it's really the field in which we labor. So, we had to look at all the things we did. So, okay, we're an ice cream company. One thing we need to do is come up with new flavors. And we became aware of a bakery outside of New York City in Yonkers, the Grayston Bakery. And part of their work is to work with people who are out of the economic mainstream, people that have had problems with legal problems, substance abuse, what have you, and the Grayston Bakery provides jobs for these folks. And we thought, well, I wonder if there are any products, baked goods, that the Grayston Bakery makes that we can put into ice cream. And we became aware that they make some really good brownies. So the company came up with this flavor, chocolate fudge brownie, which uses brownies from the Grayston Bakery. Simply by purchasing the brownies, we support the work that they do, and at the same time, Ben & Jerry's gets an incredibly popular and profitable flavor, and Ben & Jerry's now uses Grayston brownies in chocolate fudge brownie ice cream, chocolate fudge brownie frozen yogurt, half-baked ice cream, single-serve cups. Maybe we'll have some cups here today. And I think last year Ben & Jerry's bought over $2 million worth of brownies from Grayston. Another thing we need to do as an ice cream company is to sell ice cream. Ben & Jerry's has about 300 franchise ice cream shops, and 14 of those are what we call partner shops that are owned and operated by social service agencies, agencies that work with at-risk youth. So simply by having those shops in business, we support the work they do. Selling ice cream to them, the company makes as much money selling ice cream to those partner shops as it does to any conventionally owned shop. So it's another way we can sell ice cream. So those are a couple of examples in the area of social issues, in the area of environment, and I realize that's why we're all here. When is Jerry going to start talking about going green? What, I got 2 minutes left, right? It's all connected. It's all, when you talk about sustainability, it's all connected. Ben & Jerry's as an ice cream company, we use a lot of energy. Making ice cream, distributing ice cream, whatever. So it's critical for the company to be looking at all our energy usage, all our emissions. And I think the company does the standard baseline things that every company has to do. We we have as much energy efficiency in our plants as is humanly and technologically possible. We offset all our energy usage with carbon offset purchases that actually support a wind farm called Native Energy in Kansas. We offset all our air travel. We recently saved 2 million gallons of water in our plant in St. Albans by reusing effluent for flushing toilets and, you know, all the standard stuff. All our packaging, as was mentioned, all our paperboard is now FSC certified for Forest something. It's a third-party certifier. And what's been really important for Ben & Jerry's is to understand that we need to measure our success in our social and environmental work the same way we measure our success financially. So since 1988, you'll see that in the Ben & Jerry's annual report, there's a social report that's right next to the financial report, and that you need to develop metrics because you guys all know as business folks, you only get what you measure. And typically for business, what we measure is profitability. And so on the one hand, it has this huge benefit because it keeps everybody in the business aligned and working towards the same direction and focused, because we all know this is what we're measuring. And if you want to be focused on issues like environment or social issues, you have to measure it. And so we now have an outside auditor, a third-party auditor that audits our social and environmental report the same way that we have a financial auditor audit our financial stuff. So one thing the company's done beyond the critical baseline issues on environment is to undertake a couple of innovative initiatives. One is to work with a new type of freezing technology called hydrocarbon freezing. And it's not exactly new. It's a freezing technology that's been in use in the rest of the world for years, but it's not yet approved here in the United States. It involves using a different refrigerant that takes about 15% less energy. It doesn't cause any global warming impacts. It doesn't infect the ozone layer at all. And the question is, why isn't it approved for use in the United States? And the answer is, there's no good reason. And so Ben & Jerry's is working with the FDA to get that approved. The company recently instituted a program with our employees, along with Efficiency Vermont. Efficiency Vermont is a nonprofit organization in Vermont that encourages people to make changes, residential changes, to more efficient lighting, more efficient appliances, and they give people a rebate. And Ben & Jerry's is now working with any employees of the company who want to undertake any of those efficiency projects, that the company will match the amount of money that Efficiency Vermont does. So it's just a way for the company to encourage our employees to be doing the same thing that the business is doing. And probably the most interesting project is called Caring Dairy. So Ben & Jerry's did an assessment of all the company's environmental impacts, from energy usage to emissions, and determined that the two biggest emissions were coming from the dairy, from purchasing milk and cream that goes into the ice cream, and also from distributing ice cream in these frozen trucks around the country. And so Ben & Jerry's has come up with a program called Caring Dairy that is designed to help the farmers who we purchase milk and cream from become better stewards of their farms and also to make more money. So it involves, Ben & Jerry's buys all its milk and cream from the St. Albans Co-op up in St. Albans, Vermont. So it involves farmers doing an assessment of their farming practices and being willing to make changes in terms of energy usage, nutrients, et cetera, et cetera. And Ben and Jerry, it's a voluntary program, so farmers can join if they want to, but Ben and Jerry's will pay a premium for those farmers' milk if they're willing to go on the program. And so this is something that you could say costs Ben and Jerry's money with no benefit, with no payback. What does Ben and Jerry's get for farmers running better farms? And the answer is that farmers are our partners, and that Ben and Jerry's is nothing without farmers. And if any of you go up to Vermont or are familiar with Vermont, you'll understand that dairy farming is under a lot of pressure and a lot of risk, and dairy farms have been going out of business in Vermont at an alarming rate. And so in a long-term view, as with so many things that are about sustainability, it's critical for farming in Vermont to be strong. And so Ben and Jerry's is participating in this. You know, what's kind of ironic is that several years ago, Ben and Jerry's started getting criticized in the media that we were cynically manipulating our customers into buying more ice cream by doing good deeds. And our response is that our actions are based on deeply held values. And we also understand that true marketing is an integrated and holistic attempt to meet another set of our customers' needs. Our customers' needs to have business be addressing the increasing environmental, social problems in our country. What we find is that this way of doing business provides our business with a unique selling proposition. It's added value. It's all these marketing buzzwords that businesses are searching to get. You know, what we've been learning at Ben and Jerry's is that there's a spiritual aspect to business, just as there is to the lives of individuals. As you give, you receive. As you help others, you are helped in return. And just because the idea that the good that you do comes back to you is written in the Bible and not in some business textbook isn't any less valid. We're all interconnected, and as we help others, we can't help but being helped in return. Well, thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate it.